if the Ziggs could be one way to go, but yeah.
We will have to see. I mean, that is something that is pretty important, right? Is if you can get that Herald and Snowball with the Ziggs, you can definitely get your team to a point where you can afford those Void Staffs very early into the game. But here we are on the Rift, Impunity versus Dewish team for our day one, game 2. And I think I'm looking for Impunity to set a new speedrun record here up against Dewish team, especially with their comp.
Who do you think out of this game is going to take over? It could be either team.
I feel like I'm betting Alex is going to find a lot of kills early game. There's just so much gang setup. I feel like, yeah, honestly, just too much gang setup for him not to. Now, interesting, Zhaotu's gone for the phase rush and not for the first strike. So I feel like perhaps that's just necessary in this matchup. I actually don't really know. Like, maybe you just need it to disengage and perhaps one, like, slightly stronger early game. But also, not having first strike on the Jace. I mean, I do think it means that later on, you don't generate as much gold as you would like.
Yeah, I do think it's possibly an answer to the Tristana. Obviously, if you're getting ganked, you can proc the first, phase rush and get out of there a lot easier. As you said, he isn't exactly immobile. He has a couple of speed buffs, but the phase rush does help him out a lot. I think I'm most excited to see this bottom lane. We don't often get to see Dravens, and it is a very exciting champ to sort of watch.
Yeah, one of those champs that can really take over the game with just a couple kills, can get Snowball insanely ahead. I also think it's one of those champs that oftentimes, you know, in theory, oh, actually the hook comes out.
Yeah, we've landed the hook onto Inhoa here, but nothing else seems to come of it. It is hard to go in level 1 as Draven. You really need that speed buff to sort of allow you to go forward.
Yeah, and how he does manage to disengage from that fight. And I think, as I was saying with the Draven, you know, in theory it's a champ that doesn't scale particularly well, but honestly just ends up with 6 items so much sooner than everyone else that he just by that scales well, right? Like, it's not uncommon even to see Draven at 6 items with everyone else still being at 3. If you can find that kind of level of Snowball, that level of gold injection, I mean, you just completely turn the game around.
Yeah, and we are seeing Driver here went out on some early game trades up against the Renekton. Actually just had a massive one there. Proc the grasp and took out like half of Renekton's health. So Driver really having a good time up top against Lucano.
Alex, he is in this bot jungle. He knows Karthus on the other side of the map. This is an isolated 3v2. There are TPs up.
And at least one of the best champions for diving. Have to look out for this Cocoon. Lands it onto Inhoa. We're all running forward. We're going to look for the repel. This looks very dangerous. Pepero going to go down. Nature following. Will we get a double kill here?
Ooh.
2 kills there and a double kill for Draven. This Draven is going to be a menace in this bot lane. It's going to be so hard to stop him now.
He is 2 kills at only 3 minutes in the game on the Draven. Now WSL, he does manage to take away some of these camps off the back end of it. So certainly, it's not like they haven't traded anything for it. At the same time, I mean, 2 kills on a Draven this early. Mission trading quite a lot in that mid lane.
Yeah, and while he does take the blue, Elise is one of those champs that doesn't really need to be farming all that much. As long as you're going in, getting those treats, you get enough gold to sort of do what you need to do, right? Elise is very much a champ about aggression and early control of the game. And we have seen that already coming.
Yes, let's take a look at this replay. I feel like the initial engage might have been a little misplayed from Impunity. I think Alex perhaps went in a little too early. Atlan wisely cleanses that exhaust and just brings so much damage here. And how, you know, it gets very low, but fortunately for Atlan, it's that last auto as well as the minions that finish that one off for him.
Yeah, just huge effect on the minions there.
Now, 50 seconds on this first Dragon, right? Like, both teams, I feel like, honestly could look to stack them very early. We've got a Karthus who has great tempo. At the same time, can you start it up against a 2-0 Draven? Probably not. And now he's looking for something around mid. Neither mid has any form of cleanse.
No, and we already, at this stage of the game, are seeing a 600 gold lead. And I feel like a lot of that is piggybacking off the Draven passive. Like, the double kill onto Draven is more than a double kill for most champions, right? Because you get that passive. He wouldn't have had too many stacks at that stage of the game, but yeah, Impunity already sort of getting a little bit ahead through this.
Yeah. It's definitely, I think, not awful for WSL, though. Has, like, managed to find himself a level lead and a camp lead in the jungle. But is it going to matter before the game blows open from this Draven? I'm not sure. Now, Ziggs is a great neutralizer. Even if you fall behind, you can still kind of effectively clear waves. You can see here Atlan sort of struggling to have impact despite that lead. At the same time, though, if more dives come out from the side of Impunity, it can be very difficult for Pepero to survive them.
Yeah, and it has to be said, Elise at least in Nautilus, some of the best champions to be diving. As WSL is down here to stop that one, so very good sort of jungle pathing from him to thwart that off. And he does have quite a sizable jungle lead now. So it's really looking like, yet again, it's going to be on WSL to sort of get this team of Dewish team ahead and see where they can take that.
It'll be interesting, right? Because I think Karthus scales well, but I'm not sure he scales super well into this composition, right? I feel like it's very easy for both Draven and Tristana to itemize something like a Hex Drinker, even into the Maw, and just make his job really difficult. The hook does go wide. You know, I honestly think if that hits on a Pepero, could potentially die. There's no exhaust up here for N-House, so it could go very, very low. And
Pepero completely out of mana as well. So he kind of just has to recall here. He doesn't have to teleport as he used it earlier. So a little bit of free time again for the Draven as Alex starts up the Dragon and we get that sort of starting for Impunity. I don't think there can be a contest yet again because of the mana on Ziggs.
And with as well, just having that priority in mid and bot lane, it's really, like you said, no mana and no priority, too hard. WSL, can he trade anything on the top side? I mean, drivers full HP, I don't think there can ever be a gank here.
Yeah,
perhaps could look for a Gromp.
Spot on the ward as well, so not much to come of that. He could have looked for Gromp theoretically, but just choosing to go back to his own jungle.
Alex, he's having some difficulties.
Oh my, Alex lives on 1 HP to the Dragon.
That was very close. Okay, WSL, here's going to pick up the Scuttle on the other side of the map. Herald isn't for another minute, so it looks like Impunity will be able to contest that. And now is going into the top side here. He's trying to use that one lane of priority that he does have to continue to accelerate himself. And he has found himself with a pretty big lead in the jungle.
Yeah, and as you said about speedrunning the game, I don't know about that, but WSL's trying to speedrun level 6 to get that constant global effect, you know. Getting that Karthus ult up, which is now up, just gives each lane that little bit more power to sort of push over the threshold of what could be a kill in every lane. And, you know, he's just got that global gank pressure, really.
I think he's a full level ahead of Elise here, so it's pretty strong. Mission finds a bit of damage on this mid tower, which I think doesn't matter a whole lot until you get that Herald, right? If you can get Herald, especially with a Tristana, really allows you to break open mid much earlier in the game than would be possible for other champions. Now, I have to say, I think Herald should be very highly prioritized for both teams, right? One side's got the Trist, other side's got the Ziggs. Whoever gets that can get a lot done with it.
Yeah, and just really open up the map, right? Like those two champs in particular are some of the best in the game for just taking one tower, snowballing that to even get another one, or just taking over the map, as they take towers so ridiculously quick. Probably the two quickest in the game.
Yeah, certainly are. WSL actually invests their Karthus ult very early, so just trying to get the first strike gold, which is, it's always interesting, right? It's a trade-off. You put it on cooldown, you get more gold doing that. At the same time, if you ever miss a kill as a result, you do just kind of fall behind off that and driver. I mean, he's getting these kind of short trades in topside up against Kunai and has Alex in the wings.
Yeah, and we do see the player gold here with Atlan clearly above everyone else, 800 above his lone opponent, but closely followed by Mission, actually.
Yeah, a lot of gold on those plates being given over to him, and it looks like Alex will start up this Herald. Dewish team perhaps could look for something mid. Nature, he's going to face check. Ooh.
I don't know that they have the damage to take him out just yet. Obviously, with Zaltu being there, it was a little bit suspicious. Everyone's out of lane. Nature does play it well to sort of just walk up and back off, not getting caught out and giving over some free gold.
Looks like Alex, though, will pick this up, and honestly, the trade isn't great from Dewish team, right? I think Draven just altered that bot wave there, and if they can't get this dive off, all it is one plate, which it's decent, but it's perhaps not as much as you'd like.
No, that's right, and I have to feel like this Rift Herald will be going into Tristana's lane, further slingshotting her even further ahead of this Jace. And I do feel like this matchup just gets harder and harder for Jace as the game goes on.
I think Jace does have the range advantage, but I think you're right. Can't fall behind in DPS. WSL, he's trying to contest this, but with Mission's priority is very difficult. Alex picks that one up. Flashes. Is burn on Enhal. It's a trade for Nature's Ignite. And this Herald, I mean, where's it going to go, right? You've got top plates already, you've got mid plates already, and I believe you have bot plates even from after that early play. So I feel like, oh, Mission.
As we see Mission jumping in, I don't think he has the damage, but trading a lot of damage back and forth between the two mid laners, it just ends up being nothing much, but yeah, very sizable trade there in the mid lane.
And I think this could perhaps be good for Mission if he wants to go for something more, especially if he has Alex just come mid and look for a dive. Instead, looks like he's going bot instead.
Mission does have to be careful though. The Requiem is coming off cooldown very shortly. And Pepero getting flashed on by Nautilus, hooked, knocked up, and just stunned. That is a dead Pepero.
Yeah, I mean, there's really just not a whole lot of counterplay once you're just committed to staying under the tower. I think probably needed to leave quite a bit earlier.
Yeah, I think even if he just left as soon as he saw them on that pink ward, he does have flash, he had the satchel, so maybe he could have even gotten away there, but decides to stay, trying to greed for some creeps, and it definitely doesn't pay out.
And interesting there that Alex decided he actually wanted to save the Herald, so perhaps does want to use it on one of those solo laners. Does get a kill for himself. Unfortunately, Draven does not manage to cash in on the stacks, but is very fed in his own right.
Yeah, it would be good to see how many stacks he has now, right? Because he got 2 very early on kills and hasn't seen anything since, so I imagine he'd be up like maybe over 100 at this stage. Yeah, we'll have to see if we get the opportunity.
Alex is actually pathing straight back bot, so he's coming to defend the dive. Hook connects.
Nature goes in. I don't know if he wanted to do that, but he does have the stopwatch. WSL is cocooned by Alex. Flashes away. We won't see any more follow-up, but I feel like this is just more benefit for Impunity.
Nature, he's getting altered.
Oh.
Can he live?
Oh, early game Karth assault, just not enough. It's a tragedy, really. As we see Alex going in, we see a trade there. WSL dead, but does still have the passive. Pepero sort of throwing things forward. Jace shock blast from the back. We're seeing more Atlan living on a slither of health. You really don't want to lose those stacks. Ooh. Flash forward, and that'll be it. But we do see that is a very good trade there for Dewish team.
Wow, what a massive, I don't even know, scuffle that happens in the bot lane there. Karth assault was not quite enough to kill Nature. I mean, it was so close, but Nautilus, you know, very tanky. And yeah, I think Impunity perhaps chased a little too long.
Yeah, and WSL does pick up the Leandre, so if he had had that before, it would have been a kill for him. You do really tend to want your kills in a Karthus comp to go on the Karthus. He tends to provide sort of the most damage. The rest of the team is mainly going to be providing poke damage, whereas I think in a team fight, you're probably looking at WSL to really get those numbers up.
Just take a look at this. I mean, Nature, very nice start to the fight, manages to hook in, kind of gets as much as he can off without dying, gets the flashes out, and I feel like at this point as Impunity, you can probably just back off and you're pretty happy. I guess Alex felt the need to kind of like chase this off the back end, but the problem is that both mids are able to be here, and so it just ends up being a bit of a trade. I mean, Mission perhaps also messed up his W on the way out. It's just caught by the JCQ is Nature.
Yeah, you have to wonder what Nature was really doing there, right? Like, he didn't have mana, he didn't have health. It kind of just, he was just playing a spectator sport a bit too far up.
Just a bit of moral support for the boys.
I respect that.
Now, second drag was actually picked up there by Impunity. But what is interesting is the fact that Dewish team were the ones that managed to get that first tower right, despite giving over the Herald. And I think perhaps Alex, a bit too hesitant to use it, does end up getting that gold over to Pepero. But worth noting is, again, like a lot of that gold is in the AP here, right? We've only got Zhao 2 with a single kill. So I think Impunity, you know, they're not super ahead, but they do have 2 drags, they're a bit in gold, and I think once they start getting MR, should have the advantage in team fights.
Yeah, and I do feel like the AD damage that is coming from the side of Dewish team is also primarily poke damage, right? And so for these AD carries in particular, you can just opt for that Bloodthirster, and sort of all 3 of these sort of damage champs of Dewish team lose a lot of effectiveness just from that item.
I think that's definitely a good point, especially because I think both of the Impunity's laners, or AD and mid, both have overheal as far as I remember, so will most likely be building BTs later in the game. Obviously, yeah, does make them pretty immune to any sort of poke, and actually makes it quite difficult for Karth assault as well. It's actually the Gore Drinker picked up by Zhao 2 on the Jace, which I think is really random. I'm not too sure why it's picked up.
Yeah, we've been seeing that in Korean solo queue. They tend to go Gore Drinker and Black Cleaver, and I think that's just for the survivability and the Black Cleaver being quite strong at the moment, really shredding some of those armor items. But there isn't an AD carry on their team, so the armor shred might not have as much effect, and you could have just have it on the Renekton. So I'm not sure about the Gore Drinker, but that tends to be the build that the Jaces have been building, at least in solo queue recently.
Definitely a good shout. I have to see whether or not it pays off. And WSL, I think he wants to start this Herald perhaps in 10 more seconds. Impunity as well. I think they probably want to fight. There's lifesteal actually coming out of Atlan, so we'll be going towards that BT second. I think it's definitely a nice pickup up against this early sustain. Now, a lot of members committed here from Dewish team. Impunity, they can just look to trade on bot side if they want. At the same time, though, they're kind of moving into position to contest. We'll see. Driver heat TPs.
And in we go. Inho is really there in the background. Alex is just absolutely blown up, but Driver comes in. Massive 3-man knock-up with his dash. Draven cashes in. That has to be a lot of gold. We see the Requiem coming in. Inho, really low health bar. Driver flashing forward. We'll claim Inho, carrying on to Zal 2. Misses the ult there, and it looks like we've just got a 3-for-2 trade in favor of Impunity.
I think it is, but also so much gold picked up there onto Alan. The fight perhaps continues.
Yeah, look at oh, there's a good engage, but doesn't quite get it. Massive ult actually out of Mission to save Atlan there, you have to say. And Zaltu is, yeah, clean, well, not clean ace, 2 for 5. But
it's clean enough.
Yeah.
I think I want to know how much gold Atlan picked up in that team fight, right? I think he got 2 kills and he cashed in
3
kills, maybe.
Yeah, 3.
He cashed in all the stacks. Just take a look at the replay. I feel like honestly, it's not a bad start for Impunity, right? You have Nature going down, but does it really matter? Oh, actually, sorry, it's Alex that goes down, but still managed to get the CC off and drive it. You know, massive CT chain there is the Draven ult as well. I didn't quite see how much gold he got, but I'm assuming it was a lot. And then off the back end, driving, you know, consistently finding that CC. And Alan just not with any threat onto him, right? And I think Dewish team, again, they're a team that needs to poke before the fight starts. So if you don't find any poke, how can you expect to win that fight?
Yeah, and as it continues, I really want to look for this buster shot that comes out of Mission. I think it's really clutch here.
Yeah, really nicely played out of them. Do manage to pick up that fight very nicely, and it looks like in the live game they're actually getting the Herald as well. Dragon in a minute, so far, despite giving over that first tower, you have to feel like Impunity, they're just in complete control of the game.
Yeah, and I really want to see Atlan's gold total at the moment. I feel like he must be like a good 2k up against even the next highest in the game, which is almost certainly, I'd say Mission or maybe Driver. Driver did pick up quite a bit of KP in that fight. As we see the Gragas not coming out, it lands on. No follow-up, though. We did get the Cocoon, but happy just to back out and set up for this Ocean that is coming up in the near future.
Impunity, will they reset before drag? It kind of feels like they shouldn't. I think just set up only 20 seconds away. Okay, Nature, he is channeling the recall, so it looks like Impunity, perhaps a mistake from them, are going to end up giving up this control. Nature, he cancels his base. I think I'd like to see him stay. I really feel like there should be no reason to give up this dragon. Not with how strong you are and not with how important it is.
Yeah, and he is full health, full mana, so I guess the only thing he could possibly be going back for. As we do see a fight come on, we'll see the Leona ult hit onto Atlan, but cleansed away. Requiem comes down. Not all that much damage. Renekton ult used in the middle by Lucane. Wall of Pain down by WSL. Will we see anything? Hook lands onto Lucane, followed up by Alex. And oh my god, massive battle there from Driver. 2 for 0 at the moment. There are low health bars on Impunity though. We do have the poke out of Ziggs and Jace yet, so this isn't over. It's not guaranteed they get the Dragon. Mission backing as well, but we'll teleport back in. Driver caught out, shutdown. Huge shutdown over to Pepero here.
I think Pepero really doing what he can. But at the same time, Mission TP's back, and Alan as well, both on full HP. I feel like there just might not be enough left here for Dewish team to actually contest this.
Alex extremely low now, but yeah, it seems like all is said and done for this fight here. And we did see Atlan low, but again, that Bloodthirster just has so much power against the poke of Dewish team.
It certainly does, and I really would like to see a replay of this fight, because I think the way Atlan played it was extremely smart, and we see now the goal lead really getting out of control, and it feels a lot like last game, actually, right? Where that time it was CFO just completely in charge of the game, you know, up gold, up dragons, and just in full control, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. Mission as well, looks like he will be going towards the BT, so this is kind of the new wave, especially against these poke comps, and I think it makes it really difficult for them to ever get purchased in the game, because it feels like, normally when you play these poke comps, ultra late game, it can be quite hard, because that's when the lifesteal starts to really come through, but now the fact that people are itemizing it so early, you get shut down as a poke comp for falling behind much sooner.
Yeah, and we do see Pepero opt in for that Morellonomicon, which will lower the healing a little bit, but you have to feel like getting that on. As we do see an initiation here, onto Nature. Looks like he'll just be caught out. Good catch and a kill onto Lucane.
Yeah, look, can I just kind of one-shots him, honestly? I mean, there was a lot of damage there. Does it actually lead to anything, though? I'd be kind of surprised. There is a Baron spawning. I mean, Atlan, he has 3 items. I have to feel like as long as he's alive, there's always a kind of that risk, I guess, of starting that. And somehow Draven is the most wave clear in the game. Just ulted that wave and one-shot it. Looks like the tower Pepper perhaps used his W early?
Yeah, he could have claimed it. I guess it had to have been off cooldown. As we see a flash cocoon, it does go wide, but Peppero will just be caught anyway. Man, you really see a lot of damage there come out of that Elise and Draven.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the Ziggs W. Like, it wasn't... I guess it was on cooldown used very early at the start or something, because wasn't up for the tower and wasn't up for the disengage. Pepero goes down, and now Impunity, they're looking towards this Baron. Castlesoul comes out early, but there's so much lifesteal.
Yeah, and we get another initiation onto Inhoa. It looks like he will go down to this Tristana, get a reset. Zell2 does initiate onto him, and he is low now, but we will see WSL go down to the Draven. Lacuna as well, just going down. It's just, they're just rolling over them at this stage. That was just a clean 4-for-1, a 4-for-0 even.
And I think with the amount of lifesteal that they have, it should be no issue for Impunity just to turn back towards the Baron. So perhaps speedrun could still be on the menu. I can't remember the time they beat them last time, but it's certainly looking good, right? You're picking up the Baron here only 21 minutes into the game. Another 2.5 minutes on your 4th Dragon. I think with the amount of engage and the strength you have from all 3 of your carries here, it's going to be really tough for Dewish team to hold them off. But let's take a look at the replay. So the Castlesoul comes through, but honestly just does no damage. Enhao is caught very early into the fight. Mission manages to get out, and then Driver off the back end. Just so tanky, can be in the middle of the team. Outlet as well is just fed enough that he just doesn't care.
Flashed into the middle of them.
He really doesn't care about anything. Is just insanely strong.
Yeah, and it does look like there's not many ways back in for Dewish team at this point. I mean, Impunity, have the Baron right now, and in 2 minutes the Ocean Soul will be spawning. I don't see how you ever contest this. While Ziggs and Jace do have quite good wave clear, it's a lot worse when Baron minions are on the map.
It is going to be hard to keep these towers up. One tower already falls, and Driver, he's working on the next one, but it does go down. They're probably going to sync up their waves. Can they play for inhibs? I'm not sure, but they also don't need to. At any point, you know, when this dragon spawns, can just turn around and go for that. And having Ocean Soul up against a poke comp, it's almost a death sentence. Yeah,
they've already a Bloodthirster on each of these AD carries. We're going to have Ocean Soul on top of that, and Driver, it has to be said, that guy is extremely tanky, now opting into what looks like it's going to be a force of nature. I don't see how you ever kill Driver. But Jace just simply will not have the damage.
Impunity, can they find some sort of engage here? Will Dewish team's wave play actually prevail? The waves aren't synced that closely. Yeah, I think actually Dewish team might be able to defend this unless Impunity can find some sort of engage.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot of range on the team of Impunity. Maybe if Mission gets access to a tower, we'll see that one go down. As we see the explosive cast hit onto WSL, he goes down immediately, and we see it followed up. Mission's gone in. Inhoa lives on 1 HP. And yeah, they could even angle to end here, I think. If Mission can get access to a minion wave, get some lifesteal, it's going to be incredibly hard for them to save this game.
Yeah, I'm just not sure there's enough minion waves to go around at this point. Looks like Atlan's hogging them all, and Mission's not going to heal whatsoever. Mission does have the TP, though. He could perhaps Baron TP. It looks like that's what he's going to do. He's recalling on the map. Alex, he's still looking.
Yeah, and Hoa has been engaged on. We see Draven following up. A stopwatch is used, but he is just going to go down immediately after. As Inhibitor bot goes down, Inhibitor tower in mid is going down as well. The Ocean Soul is spawning now. So I feel like this game is just pretty much over. They will go to Dragon, play it safe, but I don't know what you do ever here as the team of Dewish.
I think if you're Dewish team, you probably have to contest this Dragon right now, right before all those creep waves start to come in. I think you try push out the waves as much as possible and try just Hail Mary the Dragon somehow, but at the same time, I mean, Atlan 9-0 and has the cleanse. Mission, you know, extremely strong as well, has the flash. So, I mean, yeah, maybe you could find some sort of Leona lockdown onto someone, but it's very, very difficult.
Yeah, and with the cleanse coming up, and I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen a Gale Force Draven.
Okay, actually, hold that thought, though.
Here we go. Out. Explosive cast sort of hits Pepero away, but Driver and Mission in the middle of 5. We do see the blast cone just hit everyone everywhere, as Mission is eliminated, but there's still 4 versus 2, and Nature's flashed in. Alt and Toa Cook oh my goodness, that crit just eliminated him. Inhoa going down 2. Zell2 the only one left alive. You have to think they're chasing at the moment, but we have Atlan going to end, and that guy will immediately kill towers. So this game's just over.
I think it is. It looks like Impunity will just be able to end. And I want to see Atlan's scoreline. What are we sitting at now? Like 10-0 or 11-0? I mean, it's been a complete dominating performance from him after picking up those 2 early kills. Yeah, 10-0 and 10. I mean, look at that. Also, Driver received pretty much no attention, but finds himself at 7-1 and 8 in the Nexus Towers. They're being knocked on. The last one's going down. The hook comes out.
Maybe we're going to see an 11th. Oh, here we are. We're still hungry.
All right, and it looks like that will be it. Impunity, they take the game from Dewish team in a pretty, again, one-sided fashion. I mean, it looked a lot like that first game, honestly.
Yeah, very much so. And despite what both of us kind of thought, it was Alan that sort of ran the show there, and just proving further that there are more carry threats than just the solo laners on Impunity, which is massive for them going into these last few weeks.
And he's showing us some Gragas abilities right now. I have to say, pretty good impression. I like that a lot. I respect the commitment. And I think from Dewish team, I want to say very questionable draft, right? I think we've already kind of seen Poke is, I want to say, not super viable, right? Like, it's hard to execute for sure. And I think now that there's just so much extra lifesteal, right? All the overheals, the BT second items coming in, it becomes very, very hard to actually make your Poke stick. Again, I guess on the kind of gameplay front, I feel like when you give 2 kills over the Draven that early in the game, it feels really bad, right? And it's very hard to come back from. And I think despite the fact, the one, I guess, nice thing for Dewish team is they did manage to pick up that first tower, but it's on to the Ziggs. And again, the Ziggs poke, it just never seemed to matter.
Yeah, and I will play devil's advocate here. I feel like this game, although it's never really shown very strong performances, would have been better to have the poke Varus if you're going for a poke comp.
Ooh, bold. I think you're right.